Good evening. The votes are in, the voting machines are sealed, and so are the fates of more than 5,000 candidates in Maharashtra and Haryana. Welcome to the news tonight. I'm Zaka Jacob. We start with the headlines that we're tracking tonight. Maharashtra and Haryana see a marginal rise in voter turnout as the two states go to assembly polls. The fate of close to 5,500 candidates is now sealed after brisk polling. Despite the anti-incumbency factor in both states, the Congress sounds confident that it will gain a majority in both Haryana and Maharashtra. The BJP keeps its fingers crossed for an encore of the Modi wave. The Supreme Court is disappointed with the centre's efforts to clean up the Ganga, asks the government to submit a progress report by the end of this month. And the United Nations is deeply concerned over the rapid spread of the Ebola virus outside of West Africa. It sounds an alarm to step up international efforts, which have so far been appalling. And our top story tonight, Maharashtra recorded a marginal rise in voter turnout compared to 5 years ago. 288 seats went to the polls in the state today. It was a five-way contest after a very long time. The stakes are high, both for the Congress and the NCP. Remember, they ruled that state for 15 years, but they parted ways just before the elections. The stakes are possibly even higher for the Shiv Sena and the BJP after they ended a 25-year alliance. This is how voting day panned out in Maharashtra.
"288 constituencies, 4,119 candidates in the fray, over 8 crore registered voters and a 4% increase in voter turnout. That sums up the day the electorate voted for the new Maharashtra Assembly.
The voter turnout up till 5 p.m. was 54.5%, which is because our poll time is till 6 p.m. So this voter turnout is likely to exceed 62%.
A host of celebrities from the field of entertainment and sports urged voters to come out in big numbers. But the turnout in Mumbai remained pretty low once again.
Voting का exercise इस्तेमाल करना चाहिए. I think it is really important for our nation और मैं यही urge करूँगा कि हर कोई आके जो eligible है जो आके वोट करे.
छुट्टी मिल गई, इन लोगों को छुट्टी मना रहे हैं, बाहर चले गए पिकनिक्स के ऊपर. I mean, if you really want, and then those are वही लोग हैं जो complain करते हैं. They keep on complaining all the time.
In this high-stake contest, all parties in Maharashtra are keeping their options open for any sort of post-poll scenario. After the political turmoil in the state only days before the elections, Maharashtra witnessed a multi-cornered contest with all top parties going it alone.
अब की बार एक विशेष परिस्थिति में चुनाव हो रहा है क्योंकि केंद्र में सत्ता बदल हुआ है और सारे अलायंसेस टूट चुके हैं. हर एक दल अपनी अपनी ताकत आजमा रहा है.
महाराष्ट्र के कांग्रेस एनसीपी सरकार से यहाँ की जनता दुखी है, परिवर्तन चाहती है और बीजेपी को फुल मेजॉरिटी मिलेगी, ये मेरा विश्वास है.
पिछले 40-45 साल बाला साहब को देखा है और उनका अनुभव भी किया है, तो ये जो चुनाव है महाराष्ट्र की जनता उन्हीं के ऊपर मोहर लगाएगी.
महाराष्ट्र के चुनाव में हमें विश्वास है कि एनसीपी का प्रदर्शन अच्छा रहेगा और अगली सरकार जो इस राज्य में बनेगी उसमें हमारी एक अहम और निर्णायक भूमिका रहेगी.
Technical problems in EVMs were reported from some polling booths in Nagpur city, Wardha district in Vidarbha and 2 booths in Mumbai. There were also some complaints of voter rolls not being in order. With inputs from Rajkamal Rao and Kriti Mishra, Bureau Report for Rajya Sabha TV.
All right, so now that the polls are done, most of the exit poll results are out as well, and most of them seem to suggest that the BJP will be within striking distance of power in Maharashtra. Let's go straight across to our correspondent Rajkamal. He's been tracking this entire campaign season for us. Just collate all the exit polls for our viewers, and it basically seems to suggest that the BJP would be very close to the halfway mark, possibly even not needing the support of any other big parties. They can manage this on their own with the help of some independents. If this were to happen, and we're not suggesting that this will, exit polls have gone wrong in this country before, but if this were to happen or if this is the trend, then what a big deal would it be for the BJP?
Zaka, remember, for Shiv Sena and NCP, this election is an existential crisis. Once the elections are out, election results are out on 19th, if the same trend continues on 19th, what happens to Shiv Sena and what happens to Uddhav Thackeray and what happens to NCP, which on paper is a national party, has only existence in Maharashtra politics. So what happens to these regional satraps which dominate Maharashtra politics in the last at least 25 years. So what happens to these parties remains a big question, and for BJP it's going to be a massive achievement. From below 80 to 120 plus or even 130 plus could be a big achievement. You remember in last assembly election there were at least 24 to 25 independent candidates who supported the then NCP Congress-led government. They can go with BJP at the same time and ask for some kind of, they can bargain for some powers or some additional funds to their constituency. So it's most likely, if we go by the post-poll survey, it's a done deal for BJP. But after this, after the 19th counting day, it's going to be a difficult task for Shiv Sena because the equations in Rajya Sabha may also change. NCP has 7 seats and Shiv Sena has 3 seats. Will they form an alliance? Even in Haryana, the regional parties, what impact that the results of these elections are going to have on the central government at parliament level once the winter session begins? That's going to be a crucial watch because the elections and the post-poll results are indicating a likely formation of government for BJP. So now the focus shifts to regional parties and what happens in the parliament.
Well, the results in Maharashtra will have huge repercussions for regional parties, their future, not just in Maharashtra. Remember, Bihar goes to polls next year, and this could have clear implications for regional parties there as well. Thanks for joining us, Raj Kamal, our correspondent there in Mumbai, with the very latest into all the exit polls that have come in, seeming to suggest that the BJP will be very close to the halfway mark of 144 in the Maharashtra Assembly. But there was drama even on voting day between the estranged partners, the BJP and the Shiv Sena, the party taking strong exception to Uddhav Thackeray and his remarks against the Prime Minister. The Shiv Sena chief's comments were published in the party's mouthpiece, Samna. It caused stir even on voting day. He said that he too can aspire to become Chief Minister of Maharashtra if a tea seller can become the Prime Minister of the country. The BJP described the remark as an insult by Uddhav Thackeray. The party also sees this as Thackeray's most obvious pitch yet, that he wants to be the Chief Minister of Maharashtra. The alliance, remember, had swept the general election back in May. They had won 42 out of the state's 48 seats, but they broke up their 25-year-old alliance just 3 weeks before the polls, baffling many within the alliance and outside. The former allies have traded very sharp barbs throughout this entire campaign.
आम आदमी जो सबसे ताकतवर होता है और उन्होंने ही जब नरेंद्र भाई स्वयं चुनाव लड़ रहे थे तो उन्होंने कहा अपनी पहचान, उन्होंने कहा कि मैं एक चाय वाला हूँ। तो एक ऐसी सामान्य व्यक्ति भी आज प्रधानमंत्री बन सकती है। आम आदमी जो है वो परेशान है अपने जीने मरने के सवाल तो सबके पास है, लेकिन उत्तर किसी के पास नहीं। मैं आया हूँ उत्तर लेके, इसीलिए मैं चाहता हूँ कि महाराष्ट्र की जनता उतर कर आए, वोट करे और शिवसेना की सरकार बनाए।
देश के प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी है, देश के आइकॉन है और दुनिया में उनको सम्मान है। उनके बारे में इस प्रकार से अपमानजनक लिखना, ये निश्चित रूप से बीजेपी कभी बर्दाश्त नहीं करेगी।
All right, while we focus on Maharashtra, let's not forget Haryana. There was also a multi-cornered contest in Haryana for the 90 seats. The fate of over 1,300 candidates was sealed. This is the first time that Haryana is seeing such a multi-cornered contest and such a polarized contest. The state recorded a 1% increase in turnout this time. Chief Minister Bhupinder Singh Hooda is looking for an unprecedented hat-trick in these elections. The BJP, on the other hand, has decided to go it alone for the first time. They're contesting all 90 seats in the state.
Amid tight security, polling in Haryana began sharp at 7 a.m. in all 90 assembly seats. With enthusiastic voters forming long queues at polling stations, balloting was brisk in most parts of the state.
Turnout is very encouraging. Last Lok Sabha election it was 71.86 and in the assembly election it was 65%. 73 for today. Yeah.
Constant vigil was being maintained on persons and vehicles in all border areas of Haryana. Flying squads were patrolling to ensure smooth conduct of elections. Video cameras and CCTV cameras were installed for monitoring the election process. But there were a few untoward incidents reported from Sirsa. 2 persons, including a relative of the INLD chief, were injured in clashes. In the 2009 polls, it was a tight contest between the Congress and the INLD. BJP and HJC could not manage to win more than 10 seats. The two parties have now parted ways to contest the polls alone. Bhupinder Singh Hooda could be the first man to get a third consecutive term if his party wins the assembly polls when results are announced on October 19th. However, riding high on Prime Minister Narendra Modi's image, BJP is hoping to turn the tables in Haryana. The party feels the contest in the state is limited between INLD and BJP.
Haryana Congress is going to form government third time. There are different issues in Lok Sabha elections, and state elections is a different issue. I don't feel any pressure because I am born in this. I am a sportsman, and politics also I maintain my sportsman spirit.
हुड्डा साहब 10 साल सीएम रह चुके हैं। उनके खिलाफ और उनकी पार्टी के खिलाफ एंटी इनकम्बेंसी बहुत ज़बरदस्त है। तो अगर कांग्रेस पार्टी डबल फिगर्स में भी एमएलए ले जाती है तो मैं समझता हूं गनीमत है। तो कांग्रेस पार्टी रनिंग से बाहर है।
हमने ना तो कभी बार्गेनिंग करी और ना कभी सोचा। हम अकेले अपने बहुमत के साथ 60 से ज्यादा सीटें जीत करके आएंगे और हम अपनी सरकार बनाएंगे 100%। हमें अपने कार्यकर्ताओं और मतदाताओं पर बहुत भरोसा है।
All eyes will be on Sunday when the results are announced. It remains to be seen if BJP will be able to transform their superlative form into votes in the assembly polls too. With inputs from Vishal Dahiya, Shyam Sundar and Akhilesh Suman, Bureau Report for Rajya Sabha TV.
And the exit polls are out for Haryana too. And just like in Maharashtra, most exit polls seem to suggest that the BJP will be the single largest party in Haryana too. They will be within striking distance of power, if not get an outright majority on their own. Vishal Dahiya is now joining us live from Sonipat. Just collate all of this for our viewers. If this were to happen, and I want to add the same caveat that I had for Maharashtra, that these are just exit polls, these are not final results. And in this country, exit polls have gone wrong in the past. But if this were to happen, and if this is the trend, if the BJP goes from 4 seats in the current assembly to more than 40 in the next assembly, just how big a deal would that be?
Well, I can't say anything about exit polls, but given the kind of understanding which I have had in the last 15 days after crisscrossing the length and breadth of Haryana, as well as the kind of voter turnout which we have seen today, that's the record-breaking voter turnout. 76% people of Haryana have come out to cast their vote, highest ever since the state has been created. Another very important factor would be the issues and the kind of campaigning which has been done by all political parties. It is, quite possible out here in this state that there might be a fractured mandate this time around. The reason why this can be, this conclusion can be drawn is because of the simple fact that this time around it is, it has been a multi-cornered contest in the very sense that not only that there were several parties which were contesting, but also because three major players, that is the Congress, which has been running the state for 10 years, the INLD, a regional party which has been the opposition since last 5 years, and the BJP, a party which has just come to power at the centre, has not had much luck in Haryana's assembly, but then they had an impressive performance in Lok Sabha elections in Haryana. So all these three players have been hoping and have been trying and, expressing their will to go ahead and grab the major share of seats in Haryana assembly. But coming back to the voter turnout, it's 76% is a figure which might give an indication that these are anti-incumbency voters which are coming out and casting their votes. Now, if at all that is happening, that would be distributed in several pockets of the state to all the other political players, because in Haryana, none of the political players have across the state appeal. BJP has its own pockets of influence. INLD, that's Indian National Lok Dal, led by Om Prakash Chautala, also has its own separate pockets of influence. That is true with the Congress as well. And let's not forget small players such as Haryana Janit Congress, led by Kuldeep Bishnoi, Haryana Jan Chetna Party, led by Vinod Sharma.
We will have to leave it there, Vishal. I'm sorry to interrupt. We're completely running out of time. But thanks for joining us. Vishal Dahiya, correspondent there in Sonipat, live for us on the news tonight. All right, we're going to take a break here in the program. When we return, the losses from Cyclone Hudhud could be upwards of 70,000 crores. That's the announcement from the Andhra Pradesh Chief Minister Chandrababu Naidu, even as Visakhapatnam, the worst hit city, slowly limps back to normal. The news tonight is back in 2 minutes. Welcome back to the news tonight. More national news now, and the Supreme Court has strongly rebuked the centre for being unable to provide a roadmap for cleaning up the Ganga. The court even said that corruption was stalling the project and, I quote the court here, heads must roll for this. The court also asked the centre why the post of Central Pollution Control Board chairperson had been vacant for 6 months now. The centre has to explain that by the 27th of this month. The court also suggested that the project needs, quote, an expert with a vision like E. Sridharan, the man who built India's metro systems, particularly the one here in Delhi. The Supreme Court also lamented the fact that the case had been in court for 29 years.
Then all the meetings that last 4 months the central government has had with the Central Pollution Control Board and State Pollution Control Board and other specialized agencies, all the decisions taken by these committees during these meetings will now be implemented, and on the next date, that is on the 29th, the centre has to give an affidavit stating what decisions were taken and what progress has been made. Similarly, Central Pollution Control Board has also been asked to give a status report on the inspections done during June 2014.
Now, Pakistani troops have violated the ceasefire yet again, resorting to mortar shelling and firing along the line of control in Poonch. There was firing from across the border in Saujia sector Wednesday morning. Pakistani Rangers also targeted forward positions in Kirni and Shahpur. There weren't reports of injuries to anybody in the cross-border firing. Indian troops retaliated. The international border as well as the LOC in the Jammu region have witnessed heavy firing as well as mortar shelling by Pakistani troops since the beginning of this month. 8 persons have died so far, more than 90 injured, and that includes 13 security personnel. The death toll from cyclone Hudhud has now gone up to 26. One more death was reported in Andhra Pradesh Wednesday. 3 days after the devastating cyclone made landfall in Visakhapatnam, the worst affected districts in the state are slowly limping back to normal. Over 1.3 lakh affected people have been rehabilitated in state government-run relief camps.
Losses from cyclone Hudhud in Andhra Pradesh could be upward of 70,000 crore rupees. The situation in north coastal districts remains grim as officials try to restore power and telephone lines. Most parts of Srikakulam, Vizianagaram and Visakhapatnam were plunged into darkness when thousands of trees were uprooted and fell on transmission lines.
From the government side also, there is no problem for the funds. We would like to see that this debris is cleared as fast as we can. We are confident within 2.5 to 3 days we will clear all the roads like this on a war-footing basis.
In Odisha, public transport system has resumed in the 3 districts of Koraput, Malkangiri and Rayagada. But rail transport still remains affected.
हमारे नेशन में बहुत कुछ इम्प्रूवमेंट हुआ है डिजास्टर मैनेजमेंट का, लेकिन हर जगह एक ही कैपेबिलिटी नहीं है, थोड़ा अनइवन है. कई स्टेट्स है जैसे कि जम्मू और कश्मीर जो 100 साल के बाद एक ऐसा देखा उन्होंने नेचुरल डिजास्टर, और शायद वो इतना प्रिपेयर्ड नहीं थे. तो मेरे ख्याल में हमें एक्सपीरियंस, इक्विपमेंट और मैन पावर शेयर करने का ज़रूरत है.
Meanwhile, heavy rains induced by Hudhud have left behind a trail of destruction in many parts of Uttar Pradesh too. At least 18 deaths have been confirmed, several houses have caved in and standing crops destroyed. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
All right, more news and updates from across the country in our special segment, Nationwide. 3 students from the northeast were allegedly beaten up by locals for not speaking in Kannada in Bangalore today. The incident took place last night when the students from Manipur had been to a restaurant where they were having food. All 3 culprits have been arrested. A case has been filed against them for assault. The Supreme Court on Wednesday directed AIIMS director to set up a medical board to review reports of self-styled godman Asaram Bapu. The same has been done in order to ascertain whether interim bail should be granted to him in the Jodhpur rape case. The court has asked the board to file its report within 4 weeks. Asaram Bapu has been in jail for sexually assaulting a minor girl at his ashram in Jodhpur. A court in Delhi today ordered the CBI to further investigate the coal block allocation case against the Kolkata-based Vikash Metals and Power Limited. The court has asked the CBI to submit a detailed and conclusive report The next hearing in this case will be on the 10th of November. An FIR was registered against Vikash Metals and its officials, accusing them of making false claims related to land allocation to get undue advantage in the coal block allocation that happened in September of 2012. China today took exception to the new 2,000-kilometer road that India is building in Arunachal Pradesh, very close to the McMahon line. China's Foreign Ministry spokesman Hong Lei said that China hopes India doesn't complicate matters pending settlement of the border dispute. He was reacting to comments by Union Minister of State for Home Affairs Kiren Rijiju, who said that plans are afoot to construct a new road network from Tawang to Vijayanagar in Changlang district, that's in Arunachal Pradesh. This in a bid to match China's infrastructure development on its side of the border. More international news now. The United Nations has expressed serious reservations over the rate at which the Ebola virus is spreading outside of West Africa. The head of the UN Ebola response mission fears that all international efforts so far against this virus could come to naught if more is not done and not done soon enough.
The United Nations has confirmed fears that the Ebola virus might outpace the fight against it. With new cases of Ebola being reported each day, the head of the UN Ebola response team has said the world must wake up to the enormity of the crisis or risk losing the battle entirely.
But if we do not get ahead of the crisis, if we do not reach our targets, and the number of people with Ebola rises dramatically, as some have predicted, the plan we have is not scalable to the size of such a new crisis. We either stop Ebola now, or we face an entirely unprecedented situation for which we do not have a plan.
The stark warning comes even as a second healthcare worker in Texas tested positive for the deadly virus. Urging all countries to step up efforts to fight the virus, US President Barack Obama said the US healthcare system was strong enough to halt an epidemic.
The transmission of this disease obviously directly threats all our populations. In addition, we have not only a humanitarian crisis in West Africa that threatens hundreds of thousands of lives, but we also have the secondary effects of destabilization economically and politically that could lead to more severe problems down the road.
Britain, meanwhile, has tightened security at Heathrow to check the outbreak. Chile, too, put in place new measures to minimize the spread of Ebola. Bureau Report, Sabha TV.
Now, the Occupy Hong Kong movement has got a fresh lease of life. Visuals of the police beating up a handcuffed man went viral, prompting fresh clashes between the cops and the protesters. Now, this issue found resonance both in the Hong Kong Legislative Council and even in the British Parliament. After 3 weeks of Occupy Hong Kong, it's back to where it all started. Violence has returned to the streets after the police used pepper spray against some protesters. Once again, the protesters have been defending themselves with umbrellas while the police charge at them. The cops have been on an elaborate mission to dismantle the protest movement, one barricade at a time. And it's these images which went viral, which are prompting the protesters to return in even bigger numbers. It shows a single pro-democracy protester, Ken Jiang, being beaten up by the police despite the man being handcuffed. This incident has sparked outrage among the protesters and even among human rights groups.
Amnesty strongly condemns the police beating up the peaceful protesters. You know, from the TV clips that we can see that Ken was just, he was taken away by the police, and at that time he was already handcuffed with the plastic strips.
The Hong Kong police expressed regret for the incident and promised action against the officers involved.
Police expressed serious concern over the TV footage showing several plainclothes police officers suspected of using excessive force during the operation this morning. We have already taken immediate actions and will conduct an investigation impartially.
Even the British Parliament, after remaining silent for so long, threw its weight behind the protesters.
I agree with my honourable friend that it is important that democracy involves real choices. And I also think we should be very clear about the importance we attach to the 1984 Joint Declaration, because, of course, that Joint Declaration makes very clear that the current social and economic systems in Hong Kong will remain unchanged.
After losing steam over the last few days, the high-handedness of the police has now given a new fillip to the pro-democracy movement. These protesters are hoping that even greater numbers of Hong Kongers will turn up on the weekend. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV. We'll have to wait and see if that happens over the weekend. And remember, early next week, the fourth plenum of the Communist Party of China will begin. So we'll have to see if these protests last till then. Meanwhile, the fight against the Islamic State, both in Iraq and Syria, has now given shape to an unlikely friendship. Russia and the United States have now agreed to help arm as well as train Iraq's embattled military. But that doesn't mean that Russia will join the US-led coalition against the IS.
Putting aside their mutual feelings of distrust, Russia and the United States have joined hands in the fight against terrorism. They are now united against a common enemy, the Islamic State.
We both recognize the need to destroy and ultimately defeat ISIL, to degrade their efforts and ultimately to defeat them, and also to counter the violent and oppressive approach of ISIL.
В целом ряде случаев мы можем более эффективно взаимодействовать, чтобы повысить эффективность усилий всего мирового сообщества. Прежде всего, это касается борьбы с терроризмом, который сейчас становится главной угрозой на большом пространстве Ближнего Востока и Севера Африки.
Meanwhile, US-led forces have sharply intensified airstrikes on the Islamic State in the last 2 days. The strikes appear to have slowed militant advances, even as the US military cautions that the situation remains fluid.
Our nations agree that ISIL poses a significant threat to the people of Iraq and Syria. It poses a threat to surrounding countries. And because of the numbers of foreign fighters that are being attracted and the chaos that ISIL is creating in the region, ultimately it will pose a threat beyond the Middle East.
But the fighting threatens to destabilize the delicate peace in neighboring Turkey. The Turkish Air Force bombed Kurdish fighters, furious over Ankara's refusal to help protect their kin in Syria. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
It hasn't been a particularly good year for Russia-US ties. Maybe this is the turning point. As we wrap up the news tonight, we'll leave you with images of India's Mars orbiter, which has sent the first images of one of the moons of the red planet. Enjoy this, and we'll catch you again tomorrow night, same time. Good night.